Hey everyone, a lot of people have asked me to do sort of a hero selection tutorial, and I finally caved and decided to do one. So it's not too complex, but simplicity is good, so I'm going to be showing sort of the core concepts of, as you can see here on my screen, having a little hero thing where you can click next or previous and choose a hero, and you can see their name. And it's pretty simple. I mean, you could have another dialog here saying the stats or something and change it as you click, but I'm not going to be showing that. I will be showing the more core things like the buttons and how to set this all up. And when you, of course, choose the guy, it will pan your camera over to wherever you want, and you'll have him selected, and you can continue playing your RPG or whatever you're using the hero selection for. So let's go make this now in the editor. So I'm going to go File, New, and I think I'm going to add campaign dependencies just so we have some heroes. A little bit more legitimate of a tutorial rather than just units or something. Okay, it's going to be a pretty small map, but I'm going to actually extend the bounds of it a bit, and we're going to get started by placing everything in the map just so I have some reference, and then we're going to go right into triggers. So firstly, we're going to increase the bounds, the camera bounds, right to the edge so we don't have much wasted space. I'm just going to do it on these sides because that's where I'm going to place the area. There we go. So hit U to go to units, and I'm not going to do any fancy terrain like you saw in the other one because that's not really the goal of this tutorial. So wow, unit's taking a long time. Okay, so I'm going to place a Tassadar. He seems cool. Oh, is he floating? Oh, he is. Okay, not a Tassadar because that's just going to mess up all the cameras. We'll make it more difficult. Let's put a Nova. And by the way, I'm placing them for player 0 on the Hero tab. Let's place a Nova, a Rory Swan, a Tosh, Kerrigan maybe. Kind of big, but... And this guy. Okay, and then select them all and then hit Enter and then type in 270 in rotation, and then now they will all face nicely. And we can go straight to the camera tab by pressing C, and let's center on Nova here and press Create Camera. Right click and don't show it because it gets in the way, and then right click Modify Properties, Preview in the Terrain Editor, check that off. Now let's zoom it in the field of view a bit. Let's lower the distance a bit, and as you can see we're a little bit off center, so let's move the X over. I wish this green circle would update with this, but it doesn't, so we have to kind of guess. I think right here is centered. And then let's bring the pitch down so we can look more at her face. And let's bring up the offset a bit. Okay. Sorry about this, guys, but this is all fine-tuning that you have to do when you make a map. Okay, I think that's about right. So press OK and then press View to actually see it. That's good. And then let's move over a bit. Right mouse drag and then Create. And then right mouse to Tosh here. Create. Kerrigan, my god, she's tall. Zoom out a bit, wheel out, hit Create, and then zoom in again on this guy. Wow, these guys are so much bigger. Okay, so we got our cameras, and hit P to go to points, and we'll just drop a point somewhere in the map where it assumes where the actual game would be. So like where your like hero spawn point would be once you choose your hero. And that's pretty much all we need here. The cameras sometimes don't translate too perfectly in game, so you have to go tweak it. Like this one might actually be higher in game or something. I don't know. Sometimes it just messes up with cliffs and stuff. So, anyways, I'm just going to save it and then we'll go into triggers. Tutorial hero chooser. Okay. So right in triggers, let's get rid of the initial stuff. And what we need is some variables because we need to store what hero the player is currently looking at. We just store the heroes in array. Just store everything so it makes our lives a lot easier later. So, and you'll see why. So we need to store what the player is viewing, what index. So we'll say this is index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So player viewing is integer array of size 4. The reason it's size 4 is because I'm going to simulate that the amount of players in this map is 4 players. Okay. And you can adjust this to be 5 players, 6 players, whatever you need. The other thing we need to do is store the cameras. So make a new variable again, and cameras of type camera object. This is going to be of size 5 because we have 5 cameras. And what's next? Oh yeah, and the units. So let's call this the hero units. And this is going to be of type unit and of size 5 as well. And for now, that's all I'm going to make. And let's go right into this sort of game map initialization trigger. And the first thing we're going to do is do some visibility. So actually, to do this, I just made a visibility, create a visibility revealer, but we need a region. So let's hit R back in the train editor, drag a region around here, say that's good enough. Okay, and then go back into triggers and then change the area for this action to be region 001. And let's do this for player 2, and for player 3, and for player 4. So now they can see that constantly forever. It's always visible unless you destroy this revealer, but we're not, well, I'm not going to do that. And then after that, we want to fade out. So I'm going to fade out for everybody here. Fade, cinematic fade out over 0 second. It's perfect. And then we're going to do a fade in. So copy paste and then fade in over 2 seconds. And don't wait until it finishes so we can do the rest of our actions while it's fading in. The other thing we want to do is hide the game UI. So new action UI s show / hide game UI. We're going to hide it for all players. And of course we want to apply the camera for the players. But let's see. Before we do that, we're going to set some variables. So what we're going to set here is we're going to set up the hero units first. So set hero units 0 to equal, and now let's choose, make sure you pick the leftmost one. Q, okay, it's Nova. Copy paste and set hero units 1 to be, in this case, it's going to be Rory, I think. And then hero units 2 is going to be Tosh. Well, my mind is working pretty slow. Hero units 3 is going to be Kerrigan. And then hero units 4, the last one, is going to be this guy, the Protoss guy, right? Yeah. Okay, and now we're going to set the camera stuff. So copy paste, change it to be setting cameras. We're going to set cameras 0 to be camera 1. And you could rename your cameras if you wanted something nicer, but it's not too important because we're just going to be referencing it through this variable we made, which the array makes it really nice to deal with clicking next and previous between heroes. Because we can just set this number +1 and then apply that camera instead of having to apply a specific one. So cameras 2, cameras 3, and cameras 4 is the last 5th camera. Okay, so all that grunt work is done. Now the other thing we want to do is create a text tag. So there's a really nice way, because we set this variable up, we can do something really nice. So we're going to do a pick each integer from 0 to 4, and then we're going to create a text tag above them with their name. So text tag, create text tag, and we're doing it in a loop, so it's going to be done from numbers 0 to 4. And what we can do is set the text to be function unit, name of unit type of, and instead of triggering unit, let's go to variable hero units, and then hero units, and change this to p picked integer. So it's gonna make the text the name of the unit type of hero units, whatever we're looping through. So the first time it'll be hero unit 0, which is this guy. It's going to put Nova, and we need to put that above the position of hero units picked integer again. So just 2 things here, so that way it's going to put the name of this guy above the position of this guy. And size 35 I think is better for all players. Height maybe 1.5. That might be too high, but we'll find out. So that takes care of that. A nice one liner there, 2 lines basically to do all that. That's the advantage of putting stuff in a variable. And I hope this makes sense to everybody. If you have a programming background, this is no problem, but for a lot of people, this is new stuff probably. What else do we want to do? We want to do something else. Oh yeah, so we want to pick each integer from 1 to 4. So for players 1 to 4, we want to apply a camera. apply not the default game camera, we want to apply camera 001. For player, function p picked integer. So players are just numbers, that's all you got to know. So if we loop through numbers 1 to 4, we can just find that player number here and it'll automatically apply it over 0 seconds. So we want to be on the first hero right away. And we also want to copy paste that and do lock camera input for player function p there, picked integer. And I think we want to do something else, but I kind of forget now, so I'll probably find it out in a bit. But we've got to do some dialog stuff now. So let's right click in the left pane over here and make a new variable, and let's call this chooser dialog. And this is going to be of type dialog. And then copy paste and rename this to left button. And this is going to be of type dialog item. And copy paste and rename this choose button. And then again, and make it right button. Okay, perfect. And then let's go back into our initialization trigger and Control W right after this action. And we're going to create a dialog. Non-modal, it doesn't matter right now. Blizzard said that it's actually broken, the modal part, and I actually understand that now, because if modal was enabled, it means that the dialog locks out everything else, and it doesn't do that right now. So non-modal, size 900, and these are just numbers I've worked out earlier, by 150, width, height, and relative to the bottom, so it's centered at the bottom. That's by default. And then let's just do a quick variable, set variable, and we're going to set choose dialog to equal function last created dialog, just so we can reference it later. Otherwise, it'll be lost forever in this trigger. Next, we want to create some items on it. So dialog, create dialog item button. For the last created dialog's fine. Dimensions 300 by, say, 140, just to be safe. Anchored to the bottom, so center bottom is what it means, with an offset of 0, 0. And this will be the choose hero button. Okay. And then let's set the, let's copy this set chooser dialog thing and paste it right after this action. And we're going to set choose button to equal function last created dialog item. So now we've got this button stored, so we can track later when it's pressed. And one thing we actually want to do for this dialog is hide the background, so it looks like there's actually no dialog there. So let's, wrong one. Let's show/hide dialog background. Let's hide the background image for dialog function last created dialog. And while I'm doing that, at the bottom of our thing, copy paste or add a new action and make that action be dialog s show/hide dialog. So let's show last created dialog for all players. So that's just something you got to do to actually show the dialog for everybody. So we make the dialog, we set it in the variable, we hide the background image, then we create a button, and let's copy paste these two, because we need to actually create another button, offset of -300. I think I've worked these numbers out before, that'd be good. And this button is going to be previous. And we need to set the left button to equal this. I should have probably called it previous button, but not a big deal. And let's copy paste again, and now change this button to be +300 offset and call it next in the button text. And then we need to set this to be right button to equal last created dialog item. So we create the dialog, we show it, and this should be good. I think I missed something in here. I vaguely remember there being 3 actions I had in my version, but I'll probably find out in a second here and have to go fix it when we go test. So now we need a new trigger to actually respond to these events. So dialog clicked. We need this trigger to deal with it. So the event for this trigger is going to be dialog item is used. Leave that as everything. Now in the actions, make a new action of general if then else.